Today we're talking about, is ownership dead? Rising house prices, particularly in London and the South East, but also elsewhere. People can't afford to buy a house now as early as they would have done, and so they're being forced to rent. And for those people, renting is a temporary measure and owning a home is their permanent aspiration.
Young people, I think, do still want to have a stake in the housing market, but frankly, the level of house prices, how difficult it is to get a deposit together, the availability of mortgages is all leaning against them participating unless they've got a lot of help from mum and dad.
If in fact we no longer feel that people have that same sense of wanting to be long-term owners, willing to invest patient capital, we have to say what replaces it to help develop a basis for the future, and also how do we create models that look after the fabulous heritage that we've got.
I think it spreads across the economy to all sorts of areas and spheres of work. You can see trends like Uber, where people won't own a car, or they'll join a car club.
I do think that the gig economy is having an impact on the demand for workspace. What people are expecting from work is changing. So we've seen work as becoming more of a consumer experience now.
One of the themes that we're seeing is a real push towards responsible ownership, to stewardship of assets.
I was asked to come along to the event to contribute a corporate angle in order to assist the debate moving away from real estate asset ownership to other asset classes. There is a variety of ownership models for companies, and fundamentally it's down to the company and its investors to decide what is appropriate for them. I'm a great believer that one size does not fit all in relation to governance and ownership.
The interesting thing is getting institutional landlords who think about long-term leases to connect with where the demand is coming from, which is for short-term flexibility from businesses that don't have great covenants.
As we've begun to understand the importance of sustainability and how bad for our environment it is to have disposable buildings, we have, I think, come full circle, and we'll have to start thinking again for tomorrow's city about flexibility and adaptable buildings.
In tomorrow's city, we're already seeing that people are much more willing to rent, but they still need to have a foot on the housing ladder. And one of the areas that the real estate industry, particularly the investment industry, needs to develop is to offer ways of people to participate in the housing market without actually owning their own home.
The shared ownership model is a great one, where if you can't afford to buy your home outright, you buy a percentage of it. Other things we're seeing property partners who are clients of Wedlake Bell have a crowdfunding model for buying homes, for investing in real estate.
How do we connect where the demand for flexibility with obviously larger institutional landlord that wants a strong covenant? So our focus is very much what's the future of workspace and what's fueling the demands.
I don't believe that ownership is dead. I believe that ways of ownership constantly change. I don't think that's anything new.
Ownership won't die, and of course we need it to keep going, because we need owners to invest in the built environment and to keep renewing it. But the way that people approach ownership needs to change, and in particular people need to adopt a long-term perspective to their ownership of assets.
I think ownership is so fundamentally important that it will not die off. I think ownership is very, very deep-rooted. If you've got young children, you can see it in a toddler with the cry, mine. And I think that cry echoes through the generations and the ages.